Hey guys, it's Calvin, and this is the iPhone XR. I got this phone a few months ago, and ever since I've been using it, it's been a great phone. It's super reliable, the battery life is awesome, it's very well built, and overall I haven't had too many issues with this phone or complaints. And this phone was announced at Apple's iPhone event in September of 2018, where they showcased the iPhone XS, the XS Max, and then a few moments later, the XR. And although this was a great phone, and even the iPhone XS and the XS Max, they were great phones, there was some confusion about the naming. Now, if we rewind all the way back to 2017 when Apple first announced and revealed the iPhone X, that was a revolutionary device, right? It was Apple's first OLED device, it was Apple's first full screen device, and it was a really solid and good phone. And at the time, the naming made sense, right? The iPhone X was revealed and released in 2017. And 2017 was the 10-year anniversary of iPhone, so the iPhone X made a lot of sense. And honestly, I thought it was a good name. But then a year later, in 2018, Apple comes out with the iPhone XS and the XS Max, and then moments later, the XR. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I personally thought Apple was gonna drop the 10 naming convention this year or last year in 2018. Because if you think about it, now it just kind of doesn't make sense, right? The iPhone X was for the 10-year anniversary of iPhone, and then all of a sudden we have the S, so now it's like the XS anniversary or the 10-year anniversary S. I don't know, it was really confusing. And what's more confusing than that, after they were done revealing the iPhone XS, they came out and they said, we have this device, the XR. And people were like, what? And it was just more confusing of a name than even XS or XS Max. But again, I really love this phone. I've been really enjoying it, but the naming is just a little weird. So what does the R in iPhone XR stand for? Well, if you want a spoiler alert, honestly, I have no idea. Nobody knows. But there are a few things that it could stand for. iPhone reduced phone. The R could stand for, I don't know, reduced price, retro, red, raspberry, ridiculous, really, Ruby-Dooby-Doo. Okay. That was terrible. That was my impression of Scooby-Doo. iPhone XR, Ruby. All right, forget it. And yeah, there are a bunch of ridiculous names for the iPhone XR and what the R could stand for. But can you imagine the meeting that Apple might have had when they first tried to come up with a name for this device? All right, everybody. Thank you guys for coming to this iPhone naming meeting. As you know, we are all here to decide what the next iPhone should be called. Mr. Cook, how about the XR? Bartholomew. That is genius. We are gonna call the next iPhone the iPhone XR. I always knew my interns had a special place here at Apple. Okay, that was kind of lame. But like I said, I don't think anybody knows what the R stands for. I think we're gonna get the answers, definitive answers to the 7 wonders of the world before we ever come close to figuring out what the R stands for in iPhone XR. And the closest answer that I could come up with might be kind of lame, but here we go. So if you look back at the iPhone XS and the XR, the XR was a great phone. It had almost all the same great specs that the XS and the XS Max had, but it had a few things that were slightly less. So the XR had 3 gigs of RAM instead of 4. The XR had an LCD panel instead of an OLED. The XR had a single lens camera system as opposed to the dual camera system on the XS and the XS Max. And I'm sure there were other few minor little things. But even with all that, the XR was still an amazing phone. And that's just it. The XR is not a budget iPhone. It is just a step down from the XS and the XS Max. So if you think about it, if you look back at the alphabet, you have the letter S and the letter R comes right before S. So it's just a little bit less than S. Yeah, that was my answer. I thought about this in the shower. You know when you're showering and you start pondering the wonders of the world? That was the answer that came to mind. In the alphabet, R comes slightly before S. R comes before S. It's just a little bit less than S. Ta-da! All jokes aside, the XR is a great phone. I do think the naming convention that Apple did for the XR and even the XS and the XS Max were a little confusing and a little weird, but they're still great devices. And honestly, I hope in the 2019 iPhones or in the future iPhones, they come up with a better naming system or something that is really cool, or maybe they just call it the iPhone, and it's the first step into what the future versions of iPhone can be. iPhone 2019, or you know, whatever. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think the R stands for. You guys can come up with some really creative and funky names. I'll be sure to be interacting with all you guys down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I think the R stands for, really, Tim Cook?